Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and to the blog series in PictoBlox. So today we are going to discuss about a new category of the blogs, which is my blogs. So till now within the same playlist we have covered all the blocks of categories from motion to variables. So if you have any questions related to any specific block, you can refer those videos and get the questions cleared. And yeah, let us start the my blog series. Now, till now, we have seen so many blocks which are already there in PictoBlox, right? Like each and every block has its own purpose, whether it might be a block that does a task, or a block that gives you information, or a block that tells you whether it's true or false. So it can be anything, but obviously, for the block to do that particular task, there should be some definition to it, right? Like, for example, move 10 steps and move change x by. So in some scenarios both are same, and in some scenarios both are different. So if you look into my motion blocks, you would clearly know the difference. So the point is here, move 10 steps will make Toby or the sprite move 10 steps and change x by change its position in the x axis by 10 steps. So here, obviously, if you just click the block, there should be some definition within the block that tells Toby to do this particular thing, right? Or any sprite or any task. So there should be some clear instructions or clear definition for every block. Now these are already defined by PictoBlox team. So whatever is there, we can use it for our purpose. Now, if we want a new block that is not available in PictoBlox and you want to create it for your own purpose, like you want to customize your own block, so then you can create one by using this my blocks category. So here, as I said, it's just creating like new blocks of your own. Let's say, for example, let me name it as testing, because we are testing the blocks here. And about these things we'll discuss in the upcoming thing, like later on. So first of all, let us create a simple block which is testing. Now, as you can see, the define block is here, right? So the testing block is already created, but right now this is completely empty because the definition itself is empty. So this can be anything, the definition. Let's say, for example, while testing, I'll just move Toby 10 steps and then I'll make him tell I'm Toby. Maybe he's just introducing himself, and then we will switch. Oh, okay, we'll go to the next costume and then repeat 5 times. Remember, all these things I'm just doing randomly, so you can put any definition you want. So say for 2 times. Now see, right now I've defined a block which is testing block. So whenever I want Toby to move 10 steps and then introduce himself, then change its costume, and then repeat the grunt sound 2 times. This is the entire definition, like this is the entire task I'm defining for Toby. So whenever I need Toby to do this task, I don't have to mention this entire thing again and again. I just have to use this one particular block. So if I just activate it, it moved, introduced, changed the costume, and then it gave the grunt sound 2 times, right? So whenever I want this in the code, I don't have to mention this particular 5 blocks every time. Okay, I just define the task and call it whenever it is required in the code. And you can edit it, give a right click on this block, we can edit the entire structure of the block. Now these blocks are like plain blocks what we already have in the thing. Like let's say, for example, if on edge bounce, like we don't have anything in this, right? Just click on this, and whenever Toby hits the edge, he'll just bounce, right? Whenever this is active. Now The same way we created a testing block which is just a plain block that is doing its task. Okay, now we do have move 10 steps block where we give the values into the block, right? You can give whatever the value you want. So these are not just like any plain block, they require some input data, right, to work. So that's where the additional features of my blocks come into the picture. So you can add the tags. Okay, so add an input as a number. Okay, so block name right now, yeah, let me make it as grunt itself. Grunt is the function, so whenever I call this function, the idea is Toby will grunt, will make the grunt sound. And this number can be like, again here you can give the number name, like you can change the name of it. I'll just keep it as it is, number. And this is a variable name, okay, because this is a value that getting changed every time, right? Every time you enter a new value, it changes. So it's kind of like a variable, not kind of, it is a variable. Then we have text input, so you can add any text as well. Then we have input as a boolean, like a conditional statement. Then a label, so let me just add a label, so I'll just make it times. So means whenever I create this block, the definition, but look at the shape of the block, it looks like more 10 steps block, right? Instead of 10 we have the number. So here we are making the grunt sound from Toby, so Toby will make the grunt sound how many times you mention over here. Now again, this is just the idea, it doesn't do it by itself, right? We have to define it in such a way. So obviously we have the number variable. You can drag this number how many number of times you want, so that you can use it in the definition of the block that we created. So let's say obviously we have to repeat it specific number of times, which is number of times, and so we will make the grunt sound. Okay, so this is the definition of the grunt times block. Now if I just call this function, now let's say for example 5 times, and also let's create a variable meaning count, so that we can track how many number of times to be actually granted. So we have count, which is 0 over here, change count by 1. So I'll just make it like this, so set count to 0. Then whenever this block is activated, count becomes 0. Then repeat the number of times that you just mentioned over here, it will grunt, and you can see the count in the count variable. So yeah, let's start this. 3, 4, 5. That's it, you got it as 5. Okay, the next time you activate it again, it goes to 0. The same process happen again and again. So whenever you want Toby to grunt specific number of times in the code, you don't have to do all this code again and again. Just define the code, define the function. We call this as function in general terms. So define the block and then call the block, that's it. Call the block whenever you need it. So this will significantly reduce the size of the code if there is a same task that has been done by a sprite again and again. Okay, so that's how my blocks work. Then again, we also have the, if we delete the definition, the block will also get deleted. So generally don't delete the definition. If you don't need it, only then you can delete it. Remember, with that the block will also be gone, because without the definition the block doesn't exist at all. Then yeah, in the look section we have this say hello, right? So hello is a text input, and 2 is the number input. So that's where we have this other inputs. Add an input as a number, add an input as a text, and in the if block we have the boolean input, right? Which means it only activates whether it's based on true or false values. So we can do that as well using the boolean input. Then label, this is just to indicate what is what, that's it. It doesn't play any role in the program. It will tell you what these inputs are, like you can give some names to it so that if you're looking at the definition, you would come to know what that input is about. Okay. Yeah, so let's create some of them for that as well. Let's create the hello block itself. The block name, let's say add a text input, and the label is okay. Let's not put the label for this because we are just creating the same say hello for 2 seconds block. So here the default value was hello, right? Even here also you can put the same value so that it can be the default value. So I'll just put um, Toby. Again, this would be the default value which is already there. Then input as a number. I'll keep that also as a number itself. But as I said, if you want, you can change it. So I'll just make it number of, and the label would be seconds. Okay, so now if you see the definition, we have I am Toby as a variable. I am Toby variable is a string type. Number of variable is a number type. Okay, and then seconds is just the tag. Now if you look at the block, it says like here you can give the text input and then the number input. Now in the number input, obviously rather than it doesn't take any other values because it's a number input. And then in the say block, it can take any value, numbers or special characters, anything is fine. Now the definition, obviously that's what the most important thing says, say hello for 2 seconds. So whatever the text input will be here, and number of seconds will be the data. So right now I'm just giving you the demonstration of these things, but obviously the definition of the my blocks will only be this simple. Then if we just say this and 5 times, so say again, I'll just say I love robotics. Then that will be said for, let's say, 5 seconds. And here okay, let's say 5 seconds. Then if you activate this block, say I love robotics for 5 seconds, so Toby will say it for 5 seconds. Okay, so that's how you can use the variables here. So if you want, you can use them in any other blocks as well. Like for example, think again, here obviously you can change the positions of them, but what happens is whatever the number that you entered for the seconds will be as a data. And if it is a string variable, obviously I'm Toby, it contains a statement, right? So that statement can't be number, so this will not work properly. But let's see how it works. Now again, uh, I love coding for 5 seconds. Now if I call this I love coding for 5 seconds will be said, because that is about the first one. Now for the second one, it's not even displaying 5 because it doesn't know how many seconds it has to display, because I am Toby contains I love coding as the data within it. So obviously that can't be number of seconds, right? So it won't even execute this particular block. So you have to be very careful what kind of data you are giving within the definition, and also what kind of data you are giving while calling the function. Because even here I can say some value, but as I said, it can't even allow the typing of any particular values, like other than numbers it won't allow anything. So if you're changing the variables, because it can't allow, like it can't restrict you for not putting the number variables in a slot where you need the data as a string type. So you can still put it, But as I said, it won't work. That's it. Okay. Oh, not this one. Sorry. Yeah. Think number of. Now here only this particular block will work. Now second block will not work, right? So what if we keep another block? Um, let's say change size to the number because it's the same number. So if I call this function again and say I love coding for 4 seconds maybe. So it says I allow coding for 4 seconds, and then it will not think, but it will change the size. So whatever the block that is not valid, it will skip that block and then goes for the next blocks. That's it. That's how the my blocks definition works. So if you delete definitions, the blocks will also be gone. Okay, that's it about my blocks. So these are all the features that we have in my blocks. So to create anything, we can still use. Oh yeah, we did not use the input, right? So let's create if block. We have a condition over here. So yeah, as you can see, we got the condition. So the definition would be if the boolean condition is true, then yeah, let's set the size back to 100%, and then let's move Toby for 10 steps, then rotate him 90 degrees maybe, again doing just random things. But here boolean is the function, sorry, the condition. So when you call it, you have to give a condition over here, and for the condition, let's say for now I'll just put 0 equals 0 because that is true. So obviously this will get activated, and Toby became 100 and he moved 10 steps, then he rotated 90 degrees. If 0 equals 1, that means it's false. So let us change the direction to some random direction and change size to 50. So Toby has shrunken. Now if you call this function, obviously it won't work because for the boolean function, like boolean condition, it is false. So this one will give false. The false will be going to the definition, and within the definition we have one more if block that is activating the entire function. So it won't work because the value is false. Okay. Now yeah, that's how it works. Now if the block is still being used in the code, you can't delete the definition. So as you can see, to delete a block, first remove all uses of the block. So only if you delete the uses, then only you can delete the definition. With it, the block also gets deleted. Okay, so that's how my blocks are. Let's set back everything to normal. Oh, yeah. Okay, this is the final video in the block series of us. So if you have any questions in the entire series, you can drop it down in the comment section of a specific video. I'll answer them as soon as possible, and I'll give you the solutions or the answers. If it is too long, I'll do it in the next upcoming videos. So stay tuned, and bye for now, guys. Have a nice day.